At 2 a.m., my door wasn't just knocked on, it was obliterated, SWAT style. Turns out some cops thought they'd found the next drug kingpin. Spoiler, that kingpin was me, sitting in my boxers, holding a glass of bourbon. By the end of the night, they weren't asking questions, they were running for cover. You ever have one of those nights where you just know something's about to go sideways? Yeah, that was me. It was a regular Tuesday. Nothing special. I'd just finished dinner, kicked back with a bourbon on the rocks, and flipped on some late-night TV. My apartment was quiet, cozy, and frankly the last place you'd expect drama to show up. But oh, life loves a twist. Around 2 a.m., just as I was dozing off on the couch, bam! Loud as hell, like a battering ram against my door. My heart? Racing like I just ran a damn marathon. At first I thought maybe it was some drunk idiot hitting the wrong apartment. You know, like, buddy, your party's next door. But then came the shouting. This is the police! Open up! Dude, what the fuck? I live alone, I don't throw wild parties, and I sure as hell don't run a meth lab. My brain was scrambling to make sense of it. I got up, half asleep and confused, and went toward the door. Just as I reached it, crash! The door flew off its hinges like it owed someone money, and in stormed a bunch of cops with guns drawn. Full SWAT mode, like they were busting Pablo Escobar himself. I froze. My first thought? This is it. I'm about to be the next headline on the 6 o'clock news. Get on the ground. Hands where I can see them, barked the guy in front. Big dude, buzz cut, classic alpha male vibes. Let's call him Officer Buzzkill. He had that look like he just lived for moments like this. Wait, what the hell is going on? I stammered, trying to process what was happening. My voice sounded way calmer than I felt. Inside, I was freaking the hell out. Shut up and do what you're told, one of them snapped, shoving me down to my knees. The carpet burned my skin, but I was too terrified to care. Another guy started rifling through my bookshelf, knocking over framed photos like a bull in a china shop. Don't touch that, I shouted, more out of reflex than anything else. Bad move. Officer Buzzkill shot me a glare that could freeze fire. Oh, so now you've got an attitude? You want to explain why we've got intel linking you to illegal activity? He sneered. Illegal activity? Are you kidding me? I work in law enforcement, for crying out loud. Well, okay, technically I do, but there's no way in hell I'm telling this guy that. Not yet. I think you've got the wrong guy, I said, trying to stay calm. But honestly, my voice cracked like a teenager at prom. Buzzkill wasn't buying it. Yeah, sure, that's what they all say. Why don't we see what you're hiding? He nodded to one of his guys who started pulling open drawers like it was Christmas morning. They were everywhere. Kitchen, bedroom, even my damn laundry hamper. At one point, one of them picked up a pair of my old gym shorts and gave this dramatic sniff before tossing them aside. Smells clean, he muttered, like it was some kind of joke. Asshole. Meanwhile, I was still on my knees, trying not to hyperventilate. My mind was racing. What the hell were they looking for? Drugs? Guns? A body? Because let me tell you, the only thing you'd find in my apartment is a stash of snacks and maybe some overdue bills. The big guy leaned in close, his face inches from mine. You got anything you want to confess, smart guy? It's going to go a lot easier for you if you come clean now. And there it was. The moment I realized this wasn't just a mistake. These guys weren't interested in the truth. They wanted a show, a headline, someone to blame. And tonight, I was their guy. But here's the kicker. They had no idea who the hell they were dealing with. So, there I was, on my knees in my own damn apartment, surrounded by a bunch of cops treating me like I was Al Capone reincarnated. And let me tell you, the vibe? Completely surreal. Like 1 second I'm sipping bourbon and contemplating what to binge watch next. And the next, I've got Officer Buzzkill breathing down my neck like he's auditioning for a buddy cop movie where I'm the bad guy. You live alone, huh? Buzzkill asked, pacing around like he owned the place. Funny. For someone living alone, you seem pretty, jumpy. What are you hiding, huh? Other than my tax returns? Nothing, I shot back. Yeah, not the smartest move, but what can I say? Sarcasm is my default when I'm cornered. Buzzkill didn't like that. He crouched down to my level, his face so close I could smell his bad coffee breath. You think this is a joke, funny guy? We've got reports, drugs, weapons, maybe worse. So why don't you start talking before this gets ugly? Ugly? Dude, look around. My door was in splinters, my bookshelf looked like it had been mugged, and someone was now rummaging through my fridge. For real, what do you think you're gonna find? My leftover pizza? Maybe a rogue Diet Coke? I snapped, my patience wearing thin. Shut up, he barked, standing up and motioning for his crew. Search everywhere. If it's here, we'll find it. And man, did they go to town. One guy pulled out my underwear drawer like he expected to find the Holy Grail. Another officer was flipping through my books, and I swear I saw him pause on To Kill a Mockingbird like he thought it was some kind of code book. Meanwhile, The guy at the fridge? He actually took out my half-empty carton of milk, shook it, and sniffed it. Smells fine, he muttered. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. But then it got worse. One of them found my laptop. Oh yeah, because apparently a MacBook is the smoking gun in this whole circus. Hey Buzz, the officer called out, holding it up like it was radioactive. Bet there's something juicy in here. Put that down, I shouted, finally losing it. You can't just... Before I could finish, Buzzkill grabbed my laptop, opened it, and started tapping away. Password protected. Of course it is, he muttered. Then turning to me, he sneered. What's the password, genius? Now, here's the thing. I could have told him. I mean, sure, I wasn't hiding anything, except, my job. But something about the smug look on his face made me want to push back. So instead, I said, yeah, sure. It's Kiss My Ass 123. All lowercase. Buzzkill was not amused. He tossed the laptop onto the couch and turned back to me. All right, funny guy, keep this up, and we'll see how funny you are downtown. Downtown? Oh, hell no. My brain was racing. I needed to stay calm, but inside I was ready to explode. Not because I was scared. Okay, I was a little scared. But mostly because of how goddamn ridiculous this whole thing was. These clowns were in my home, tearing it apart. And for what? At that moment, one of the officers called out from the hallway, Yo, Buzz, you gotta see this. Buzzkill's eyes lit up like Christmas morning, and he stomped off toward the voice. I couldn't see what they'd found, but judging by the hushed murmurs and the way Buzzkill's shoulders tensed, it wasn't what they were expecting. Meanwhile, I sat there, trying to figure out my next move. Should I start yelling? Stay quiet? Call a lawyer? My hands were still cuffed behind my back, and let me tell you, the carpet was doing a number on my knees. Buzzkill came back, his face a mix of confusion and, dare I say, panic. You sure about this? He barked at the other guy, who nodded solemnly. I raised an eyebrow. What's the matter, officer? Did you finally realize I'm not running a cartel out of my one-bedroom apartment? Shut your mouth, Buzzkill snapped. But his usual bravado was gone. Something had shifted, and whatever it was big. Okay, so here's where things got interesting. Like, even more interesting than a bunch of cops tearing through my apartment like kids on a sugar high. Buzzkill came back from the hallway looking like he'd just seen a ghost. His jaw was tight, his brows furrowed, and that cocky swagger he had earlier, gone. Hey man, I said, sitting up a little straighter, because let's face it, I wasn't going to miss the chance to twist the knife. You look stressed. Everything all right? Did you find my stash of Oreos or something? Buzzkill ignored me. He pulled out his radio and barked something I couldn't quite make out. It was all cop speak, lots of numbers and standby bullshit. Meanwhile, the other officers were just standing around, like they didn't know whether to keep trashing my place or call it a night. Somebody gonna clue me in? I asked, rolling my eyes. Or are we just gonna stand here playing charades? That's when Buzzkill turned to me, his face pale but his tone sharp. Who the hell are you? I blinked. Seriously? You break into my apartment, accuse me of God knows what, and now you're asking me questions? Dude, you're not exactly giving Sherlock Holmes energy right now. Answer the question, he snapped. But this time there was something different in his voice. Less bark, more uncertainty. Like he was starting to realize he might have fucked up big time. Fine, I said, leaning back against the wall like I had all the time in the world. My name is James Carter. I'm 38. I live alone. And the only illegal activity I'm involved in is occasionally parking in a loading zone when I'm feeling spicy. Buzzkill didn't laugh. In fact, he didn't say anything. He just stared at me, his eyes narrowing like he was trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't fit. Okay, seriously, I said, unable to resist. What did you find? A bag of Cheetos under the couch? My embarrassing high school yearbook photos? Because I promise you, it's not that deep. One of the other cops, let's call him Rookie because he looked about 12, stepped forward, holding some kind of file. Buzz, you might want to see this, he muttered, handing it over. Buzzkill snatched the file and flipped it open. As he read, his face went through about 10 different emotions, ranging from confusion to shock to full-blown panic. Shit, he muttered under his breath, loud enough for me to hear. Now at this point, I had no idea what they were looking at, but I'll admit, watching Buzzkill squirm was the highlight of my night. Something wrong, officer? I asked, keeping my tone as innocent as possible. He didn't answer. Instead, he slammed the file shut and barked at his crew. Pack it up, now. Wait, what? Pack it up? Just like that? Hold up, I said, pushing myself to my feet as best I could with my hands still cuffed. You can't just come in here, destroy my apartment, and then leave without an explanation. What the hell is going on? Buzzkill shot me a look that could have melted steel. You don't want to push your luck, Carter. Oh, I think I do, I shot back. Because unless you're about to pull some Harry Potter shit and magically fix my door, you owe me an explanation. He opened his mouth to respond, but then his radio crackled. A voice, sharp, authoritative, came through. Unit 17, what's your status? Buzzkill hesitated. Situation under control, he said finally, his voice tight. False alarm, returning to base. False alarm? Was this guy serious? As the officers started filing out, one of them had the audacity to pat me on the shoulder and say, "Sorry about the mess, man." Like he'd just spilled a cup of coffee, not turned my apartment into a crime scene. Buzzkill was the last to leave. He paused at the door, glanced back at me, and for a split second I thought he might actually apologize. But no, he just muttered, "Stay out of trouble," before disappearing into the night. And there I was, standing in my wrecked apartment wondering what the hell just happened, and why Buzzkill looked like he'd seen a ghost when he read that file. So there I was, standing in the middle of my wrecked apartment wondering if I'd just survived the Twilight Zone. My door was in splinters, my stuff was scattered everywhere, and the cops? Oh, they just walked out like they'd delivered a damn pizza. I grabbed my phone and took a deep breath. First call, my lawyer. I mean, come on, I wasn't about to let this slide. But just as I started dialing, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Unknown number. Great. Probably someone trying to sell me car insurance. Hello? I answered, half annoyed. Mr. Carter. The voice was calm, too calm. This is Deputy Director Wallace from the FBI. And boom. Just like that, everything clicked. The file, the panic, Buzzkill's sudden change in attitude. It all made sense. I could almost hear the gears turning in Wallace's head as he continued. I've been informed of an incident at your residence tonight. Rest assured, we're handling it. Handling it? I shot back, pacing around the mess. Do you mean handling the part where they trash my apartment or the part where they accuse me of running a drug cartel? Wallace sighed. The kind of sigh that says, I really don't want to be dealing with this shit right now. Let me be clear, Mr. Carter. The officers were acting on faulty information. The situation is being reviewed and appropriate actions will be taken. Appropriate actions? I laughed bitterly. You mean like sending them back here to clean up? Because unless they've got a Home Depot gift card for that door, I'm not feeling very reassured. There was a pause on the other end, and I could almost picture Wallace pinching the bridge of his nose. I understand your frustration. I'll see to it that your damages are compensated. Yeah, you do that, I said, hanging up. Before he could say anything else, I stared at the phone for a moment, the anger still bubbling under the surface. And that's when it hit me. Buzzkill and his crew didn't just screw up. They had no clue who they were dealing with. You see, I'm not just James Carter, regular guy. I'm Supervisory Special Agent James Carter, FBI. That's right. Those clowns raided the apartment of one of their own. Well, technically their boss's boss's boss. And now? Oh, now they were scrambling to cover their asses. The thought almost made me laugh. Almost. I poured myself another bourbon, sat on my busted couch, and let it sink in. The mess would get cleaned up, the door would get fixed, and Buzzkill? Well, let's just say he'd be learning the fine art of paperwork for the foreseeable future. But me, I had the satisfaction of knowing one thing. They'd never make this mistake again.